Hello, my lovely Year 3 designers. Lesson 2 of our automata project now. In our first lesson, we made the frame and we made sure it was nice and rigid and strong by putting in the supporting corners. Now we're going to move on to the actual mechanics. So let's have a look at the materials we'll be needing. We'll need a piece of card which is 30 centimetres by 7 centimetres, 30 by 7. And we'll also need another piece of card which is 30 by 3 centimetres. Okay? Now, do you remember you also have these two pieces of cardboard left over from our last lesson, and they are 7 centimetres by 7 centimetres. Remember I said you needed to keep those safe. So that's all of the cardboard we need for now. We also need one of these pea canes that we're going to be using in ours. Now, if you don't have a pea cane, it has to be anything, a stick that's longer than the width of the box. It just needs to be bigger. This pencil's a little bit too short, but you could see if it was a bit bigger, that would work. I've got here a chopstick. That's something you could use if you're making something like this at home. But we're going to use this pea cane, which is nice and long. You'll also need a bamboo skewer. And for this project, you'll need it being 20 centimetres long. So if it's too long, you just cut a little bit off or break a bit off, but it needs to be 20 centimetres. Then you'll need your scissors. You'll need a ruler, pencil. I'm going to use marker pen again. And you'll need one of these. You'll need something to draw around. Now, I've got you this as a stencil, this wheel shape here. But if you didn't have one of these, you could use a jam jar lid or something like that. Just something to draw around. But we'll have one of these. You'll also need tape dispenser and some PVA glue in a squeezy bottle and a bit of scrap paper with your name on it. Okay, let's begin by drawing on our circle on here. This is to make our cam. So we're just going to draw around here, but you're also going to do the dot in the middle. That's important. That's going to help you in a minute. Because what we're looking at, remember, is the centre of rotation. So on our wheel, on our carts, it was right in the middle, the axle. But on our cams, we're going to move that centre of rotation to the top there. So you can see it goes up and down, instead of nicely round and round like with the wheels. So we just need to work out where to put our hole in our cam. And we use the centre of the cam to help us. And I just measured up using my sort of finger space. I don't want to go right to the top, but I don't want to be too near that centre. Next, we're going to cut out our cam, and I'm just going to remind you again how important it is to do nice, neat cutting. And the way to do that, we need to keep our scissors straight ahead in front of us, and we actually move the piece of cardboard round. This way, we get a much better line cutting. See how my scissors are staying facing forward, but I'm turning and twisting my piece of card. And I'm also trying to stay out just outside the line that I've drawn rather than going inside it, because I'm trying to get this as smooth as I can. So can you see how I'm twisting the cardboard but keeping my scissors nice and straight ahead of me? And that way I make a nice neat circle. Another top tip for neat cutting is I'm actually resting the bottom of my cutting hand on the table. Having the table to support my hand means it's not wobbling about all over the place. Give it a go. This is scrap, so put that in for recycling. And then this is our cam. And we can just see how it's going to fit through the pea cane. Now we need to make some little tubes either side of our cam, which will stop it slipping about. So put that safely to one side. Maybe even write your name on it if you've got lots of people working on your table. So this is where you're going to need a 30 by 7 piece of cardboard. And it's really simple. We just fold that in half, because actually what we need is 2 pieces of card, which is 15 by 7. So if we cut that in half, that's what we get. And it's not the same as when we did the frame where it had to be exactly the right length. We used rulers. This is just roughly. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to break our cardboard down a little bit. Do you see how I'm running it through my fingers and bending it around? I'm using those tubes inside. That means we can roll it really nicely. And we use our pea cane to roll it around. That means we're making a tube which will fit onto our pea cane later. So just break down the card and roll it round. You need a couple of bits of tape off of your lovely tape dispenser, one there at the top and a second bit, so that's nice and secure, and that's one of your tubes made. So you can see there, lovely nice hole in the middle, but we need 2 of those, so I'll just quickly show you again. Exactly the same thing. Break down the card, roly and tapey. And then we've got two nice identical tubes. One will go on one side of the cam and then one on the other. That's how it'll all fit together. So now we just need to make two more tubes using the 30 by 3 centimeters. We fold that in half again. And remember, this is just roughly, we don't need to measure that. We've got it in half because we folded it. We break down the cardboard a little bit again, wrap them round, stick them down, and then we are done. So in all, we've got all our things ready. We've got 4 tubes, we've got our square of card, and we've got our round cam. We need our pea cane and our bamboo skewer, and it's time to start gluing and securing them all together. So the first thing we're going to put together is all the bits that go onto our green pea cane. So that's 2 tubes and the cam. So we slide on our tube, slide on our cam, slide on the other tube, and we just need to secure these now. So what I'm doing is I'm just going to get a little bit of tape and I'm just working it out so it's roughly in the middle, and I'm going to put a bit of tape at the bottom, at the lowest point of that circle where it crosses over. So from one tube over the circle, pinch the tape on, over onto the other tube, and I'm just squishing that in shape, and that's just going to hold it on in position for the moment. I'm then going to add a little bit more tape on there, and I'm just wrapping it round so it's a bit on the tube and a bit on the cam. Same on the other side, a bit on the tube with that tape and a bit on the cam, and just squish it into place, and just try and do this as neatly as you can. Okay, and you can see it's sliding around, but we don't want it to slide around. We don't want that pea cane to move in and out. So now we need to add a bit of glue. And we're going to get this bottle of glue, and we're going to squish some glue down that centre of the tube. Just a bit there, a couple of blobs. Just take your time, and then we get our pea cane and we shove it down. And what we're actually doing is we're pushing the glue all the way through. Can you see how there's glue on the end of the pea cane? Well, there's also going to be glue all the way through the tube. When you've done that, you put it on your piece of scrap paper with your name on it, because we need that for lesson 3. We need that to dry safely, so that will just stay on that piece of paper. So now let's move on to these little tubes. Now we're going to take one of these tubes and just put it to one side at the moment, put that with our drying cam there, and then we're going to concentrate on this tube. And what we're going to do is we're going to put it onto our square we've got left there. We need to work out so it's roughly in the middle, and what we can do is we can get our bamboo and just use the end just to make a little mark. We're not going all the way through it, it's just to help us find that centre there. And I'm using the blunt end just sitting it in, because this is what we want to do. This is what we want. We want the square, the tube and the bamboo all to be together. So once we've got that roughly in the middle, we get a bit of tape and we stick that on. Same as before, some on the tube and then some on the bottom, and we want to squish that down so it's nice and flat. Now we could use glue gun to do this if your teacher's got a glue gun in the room, but I think it's good to show you how you can do this just with a bit of cardboard and a bit of tape. You don't need any special equipment. So I've just put that on both sides of the tube, and I'm coming round, filling in the gaps, a little bit of tape on the tube and a little bit on the square base like that. I've used 4 bits of tape, and that's nice and secure now. And then I'm just going to wrap another bit of tape all the way around. That's just keeping it really nice and tight. Do you see that? It's not wibbling around too much. And then this needs to sit inside. So we're going to do the same thing as we did with our cam. And we're going to put a blob of glue inside that tube. And we just want it to be able to slide down, going inside. And now we can put our bamboo. We want the end of the bamboo that's flat. So we've got the pointy one sticking up, and that goes in there. Now, just to help us, we're going to get a little bit of masking tape. So a bit of masking tape is useful here. And we just rip a little bit off, and we're just going to tape that on, just very roughly. That's going to help keep it upright. You know, there could be a draft or people walking around could knock them over. And that's just going to hold it in place while it's drying. And that's the bit we need to get to by the end of this lesson, that we've got our cam ready, we've got this tube all kept together, and then we've got our square and our bamboo all ready for lesson 3. Okay, help each other get finished.